She threw herself between them, grabbing Quinn's hand with her free one and glaring up at the 6-foot-tall billionaire. Pierce looked down at her, mild surprise registering in his usually dead eyes. "Brother," Danny said quietly, stepping up beside Daisy. Pierce gave a short nod. Daisy didn't say a word. She just hooked her arm through Quinn's and practically dragged her away, leaving the imposing CEO standing alone in the alley. Once they were a safe distance away, Daisy finally let go. Quinn crossed her arms, looking down at the shorter girl, with an expression somewhere between amusement and annoyance. Daisy swung her backpack around to her chest and yanked the zipper open. The sight of tightly banded stacks of $100 bills spilled out into the dim light. "This is all my allowance. Take it. If it's not enough, I can give you my trust fund payout next month." She grabbed both of Quinn's hands, squeezing them tight. "You don't have to sell yourself. The system, the internet, says that starting a relationship based on money and power imbalances just leads to 80 chapters of toxic misunderstandings. You're too good for that." Quinn let out a surprised laugh. "Who says I'm the one being bought? What if I'm the one extorting him?" Daisy's brain short-circuited. She stared at Quinn, completely failing to process the concept her poor, suffering sister bullying a billionaire. "Besides," Quinn continued, a wicked grin spreading across her face, "Pierce has been bothering me for a title lately. He's so clingy. The good ones usually just wash the dishes, warm the bed, and keep their mouths shut. He's always demanding we go public. It's exhausting." Daisy swallowed hard. She turned to look at Danny, whose eyes were wide. She wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. "Well, usually that's wrong, but if you're doing it, you must have your reasons." "Right?" Quinn laughed harder this time, reaching out to flick Daisy's forehead. "I've got business to handle. Go play with your little shadow." Before she left, Quinn reached into the open backpack and pulled out a single crisp $100 bill. "I'll take this. In exchange, you get 20% equity in the teahouse." Daisy watched her walk away. $100 for 20% of a massive, profitable tourist trap? She wasn't an economics major, but she knew a hustle when she saw one. She had definitely latched onto the right person. "She's a bad influence," Danny muttered, his voice tight. "She's stringing him along. Pierce is pathetic, and she doesn't even want him for real." "Hey," Daisy protested, defending her new idol. "That's their business. You can't judge someone's relationship from the outside." Danny, who was usually so easy to pacify, didn't back down. His eyes started to get shiny. "You're going to turn into a bad woman just like her." Daisy scrambled to reassure him, patting his arm and promising she wouldn't start keeping a stable of men in the basement, but Danny was unusually quiet on the walk home. She figured he'd sleep it off. He never stayed mad at her. But the next morning, when Daisy walked out to the spot where he always waited, the sidewalk was empty. She stomped her feet, waiting 10 minutes, but he didn't show. When she knocked on the Song family's door, the housekeeper looked surprised and said Danny had already left for school. For the first time in their lives, Danny was giving her the cold shoulder. During the last period of the day, Daisy slipped out of study hall, claiming she needed to use the restroom. The school was a private academy known mostly as a holding pen for rich kids who couldn't test into better programs. As she wandered behind the gym, she saw a familiar figure sitting on the brick perimeter wall. Quinn was dressed in a black windbreaker and combat boots, her baseball cap pulled low. She looked effortlessly cool against the backdrop of the winter sun. "Never jumped a fence before?" Quinn asked, effortlessly dropping down in front of her. "No," Daisy admitted. "Let's go." Daisy was thrilled. But as Quinn boosted her up onto the wall, she spotted Danny in the distance. He was walking toward them, holding 2 bottles of the expensive yogurt drinks they both loved. "Danny!" she whisper-shouted, trying not to alert the security guards. Danny stopped. He looked at Daisy. He looked at Quinn. Then, without a word, he turned on his heel and sprinted in the opposite direction. "Wow," Daisy muttered, embarrassed. "He is really mad at me." She looked down. Getting up had been easy, but the drop on the other side looked like a broken ankle waiting to happen. Before she could panic, Quinn grabbed her around the waist and simply leaped, taking them both down to the grass in one smooth motion. Daisy's heart was hammering against her ribs, her face flushed with adrenaline. Quinn pinched her cheek. "If you ever want to break the rules again, call me." Since study hall was almost over anyway, they walked to the teahouse. Quinn handed her a box of limited edition pastries, and Daisy sat in the back office, munching on them while trying to figure out how to broach the topic of bringing Quinn home to meet their parents. When it was time to go, she walked toward the study to say goodbye. Through the slatted bamboo blinds, she saw two figures in the dim light. Quinn was sitting in a high-backed chair, casually tugging on Pierce's silk tie. The CEO had no choice but to lean down over her. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. Quinn reached into a drawer with her free hand, pulled out a tube of lipstick, and handed it to him. With her eyes locked on his, she commanded him to apply it for her. Pierce's Adam's apple bobbed visibly. He carefully, agonizingly painted her lips red. When he finished, Quinn grabbed his lapels, pulled him down, and stamped a perfect crimson kiss right on his collar. Daisy's face burned. She tiptoed backward, desperate not to ruin the moment. "Don't worry about corrupting the kid." Quinn's voice drifted out as Daisy retreated. She needs to see how it works, so she doesn't end up falling for the first idiot who buys her dinner. And that little boy she drags around is playing the long game. She's the only clueless one in the room. Daisy ignored the comment. She packed up some extra pastries and headed over to the songhouse to try and bribe Danny into forgiving her. To her surprise, Pierce was already home, sitting on the couch looking entirely too satisfied with himself. In the kitchen, Danny wasn't carving stones. He was wearing an apron and aggressively chopping vegetables while the housekeeper watched. "What's wrong with him?" Pierce drawled, swirling a glass of scotch. "He hasn't touched a rock all day. He's been doing laundry and learning how to braise pork. Did his little girlfriend dump him?" Daisy cleared her throat loudly. Danny froze. He turned his head slowly, his amber eyes locking onto hers. "I can cook," he said softly. "I can do laundry. I can keep the bed warm. Don't leave me." Daisy felt her heart melt into a puddle. She practically tackled him, wrapping her arms around his neck and rubbing her cheek against his shoulder. "I told you, we're number one. I'm not going anywhere."